Hi everybody, here's a lesson on the John Lennon fingerpicking pattern. This pattern was taught to John Lennon in India by Donovan in 1968, and John Lennon used it on 3 songs on the White Album, and a few songs after that used it on Look at Me on the Plastic Ono Band album. But we're going to look at three songs from the White Album. We're just going to look at the beginning of each of those songs. We're going to look at Julia, Happiness is a Warm Gun, and Dear Prudence. So all 3 of those use this pattern. And one of the nice things about this pattern, the way John Lennon used it, is that you don't usually have to switch strings depending on the chord. So it's one pattern that he used, and he came up with a lot of very interesting chord progressions to do with this pattern that all involve starting on the same bass note. So let's look at the pattern first before we try any of these progressions. So it's going to start with the 5th string and the 1st string. You're going to pluck them at the same time. So 5th string and the 1st string. And there are a few fingering options here. You should use your thumb for these bass notes. It might be easiest just to use 2 fingers, Travis style, Merle Travis style. But you might find that it's easier to use 3 fingers, thumb, index, and middle. You could even do it with 4 fingers, thumb, index, middle, ring. But I think I'll just have you use these 2, thumb and index, for now. So it starts with 5th string and 1st string. And you pluck them together like that. Let's put a chord down. Let's just put a C chord down. So those 2 strings pluck together. Then you're going to move your thumb to the 4th string and play that. Then you're going to use your index finger to play the 3rd string. And then with the C chord, you got to move that 3rd finger to the 6th string for this next note. So you're going to play the 6th string like that. And then you're going to go down to the 2nd string with your index finger. And then you're going to end with your thumb on the 4th string here. So it's 5 and 1, 4, 3, 6, 2, 4. So let me play that. You can rewind and watch that a few times to figure out what I was saying there. But the rhythm to this pattern is going to be this. I'm moving my 3rd finger back and forth so I can hit that note and that note. And the thumb is playing a note on every beat. And other than that thumb pattern, there are only 3 other notes here. So it's let me do that really slow. And you know what? Let me switch to an A chord here, so you don't have to worry about moving fingers over here. Make it a little easier. So let's play A chord, same picking pattern, and it's going to be this. Okay, so that's the John Lennon picking pattern on an A chord, and you can practice it slow, try to get it fast. On the songs in which John Lennon plays it, he does it kind of slow. So the first one we'll look at, Julia. I mean, it's a medium speed. It's not super slow. If you're just starting with this pattern, it might seem fast, but a lot of people play these patterns. That starts to sound a little more like something Merle Travis might do. But so this Julia, it's the beginning of the song. I'm just going to show you the beginning. It's 3 chords. It's a C chord, but you're going to add your little finger here on the 3rd fret of the 1st string. And you have to do that thing with the 3rd finger where you move it back and forth. So it starts with that. Then you're going to leave that little finger down for the next chord as well. And you're going to go to an A minor 7th. So this is just an A minor chord with that little finger held down. And same picking pattern. And then you're going to go to an E minor chord, but again you're going to leave that little finger down. So it's 3 chords, little finger stays right there the whole time. And that's something John Lennon did on a lot of songs. He'd leave that finger there for different kinds of chord progressions. this is one where you can hear it very clearly. So C, A minor 7, E minor, and then you repeat. At this point he goes to a G, but then there are a whole bunch of other chords that come after that. So look it up if you're interested in learning that one. So let's move on to Happiness is a Warm Gun. So this song, oh, and by the way, we've got this sheet here. I'm going through this sheet that I wrote out for you. Take a look at the sheet if you want something to look at. But Happiness is a Warm Gun. This starts with that picking pattern, but then very quickly it goes off and does a million other things. This is a song that really packs a whole lot into a few minutes. But it starts with A minor 7th, so A minor with that little finger down on the first string again. And then from there you go to A minor 6th. So you're just going to take that little finger and move it to the second fret of the first string. And then you're going to leave that little finger down and put an E minor down. So this is going to be an E minor with a 9th on top. And then you lift it up and just play a regular E minor. So let me play that again. Off and does a bunch of other things. So that's the beginning of Happiness is a Warm Gun. Let's look at Dear Prudence. And to play this, you're going to have to go to drop D tuning. Drop D. So you can just tune your 6th string down to a D. You can use a tuner if you want, or you can just compare it to your D string. And it's going to be an octave lower. I recommend going a little below the D and then bringing it back up. You might have to tune it a couple times before it sticks. So we're in drop D tuning. So this is going to use that same picking pattern as well. And it's going to start with, this is a kind of a D suspended chord. It's got a suspended 4th, it's got a 4th and a 2nd in it, and no 3rd. So we could call it a few different things, but let's just call it D suspended. So it's the same picking pattern, and you're going to have your first finger, 10th fret of the 2nd string, third finger, 12th fret of the 3rd string, and little finger, 12th fret of the 1st string. And you start on that chord, and then you go down to a D chord here at the 10th fret. There's another video where I talk about these little chords. So this is, it's like the first 3 notes of an F-shaped bar chord, and you're going to flatten your first finger out on the first 2 strings at the 10th fret, and add your second finger at the 11th fret of the 3rd string. And then you move that down 2 frets, so it's a C. You're going to go to a G, which is just going to be a D chord shape, but at the 7th fret. So it's the same picking pattern. Then you're going to go to an A. It's that same little chord that we had up here for D and C. Now it's going to be at the 5th fret for an A. Then we're going to end on a C chord here. And this is a 3rd fret of the 1st string, 5th fret of the 2nd and 3rd strings. And you do that pattern twice on that one. So let me play all that for you again. And then we go into the main pattern of the song, which is going to start with a D. And I would recommend that it's going to be kind of tough to get some of these notes out. And I recommend just starting with a bar with your D chord instead of playing it the way you might usually do it like that. If you just flatten out your first finger on the first 3 strings and add your second finger here. This is the way that this pattern ends up being easiest for me, and I think it's probably how John Lennon did it. He often would play a D chord with that bar instead of like that. So if we start with this bar, same picking pattern, and then we're going to need to cram this 3rd fret of the 5th string in here, and this is where it gets kind of tough. It's tough to get all those notes out and then also have that D string ringing out. So whatever fingering works for you, I would recommend, but this is what I find works best for me. So D, D/C, and then D/B, which is going to be like this. First finger on the second fret of the 5th string, second finger on the second fret of the 3rd string, little finger on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, third finger on the 2nd fret of the 1st string, and then D over B flat, which is just going to involve moving that finger down one more fret. So let me play all that for you. D, D over C, D over B, and D over B flat. And then, so then there are a bunch of other parts to that song, but that's the main thing. So practice all this, and I'd say once you've played some of these intros, you can take a look at one of the other songs. There are tabs available for these online and in books, and pick one and learn the whole thing. But start by just trying to get that picking pattern down, and yeah, and really it's good to just go through and appreciate all the interesting chords that John Lennon came up with to go with that pattern. Just savor all these harmonies. This descending thing at the beginning of Dear Prudence has this nice pedal on D, A, and D. It's pretty interesting, and yeah, just a lot of really interesting. Julia, especially, I think has some really nice voice leading in the chord progressions. Yeah, so good luck working on this John Lennon picking pattern. Have a good day.